let's talk about replacing or swapping out a rotor on this Delfast bike. We have this cable that comes out of the bike here. It's got an O-ring on it. There is a piece right here that is kind of stuck on, that its purpose in life is to prevent the cable from getting crushed. We can work it off back and forth. Sometimes we might need a screwdriver to get it to come off of here. We have to get this off before we'll be able to get the rotor off. So there, we knocked it loose. We'll bring it up over the axle, and this and the O-ring are going to have to come off of here. They'll fit just barely over the hall sensor plugs. The next thing we would have to do is take off these screws that hold the rotor down. There have been a number of cases where these screws have come loose and shredded the motor cable. And if that happens, there's no way to repair it. You have to replace the motor, which is very difficult because it's built into the wheel here, and it's hard to find a shop that can build a wheel like this. So it's really important to make sure that when you put a rotor on, you are very careful about getting the screws in and making sure that they lock in. When you buy a new rotor, the rotor always comes with screws, and the screws come pre-packaged with Loctite on them, so that once you screw them in, that Loctite will set and then they will be locked in and they won't come back out. If I was to take this new Magura rotor off of here, I would foul that Loctite and then the screws wouldn't lock in place anymore. So anytime you take the screws out of a rotor, you have to make sure that you get either new screws or you use Loctite to make sure that they seat back in. I'm not going to take this off today, but if I did, I would have to also get the cable and the phase wires and the hall sensor plugs around the hole in the rotor so that I can put a new one in. On both the stock rotor that came with the Delfast and this Magura, there's an arrow here that points in the direction that the rotor is supposed to spin. You need to make sure that that's aligned with the direction that the wheel is going to spin when the bike is moving forward. When this had the stock brake on it, it had a spacer that was behind it that I had to remove when I put the Magura on, because the Magura is thicker, so that spacer is not needed. So when I get ready to put things back together, I need to make sure that this protector for the cable has the flat part down toward the rotor and not this rounded part. There have been a number of customers who put it on upside down and ended up ruining their motor and having to replace it. So let's make sure we put it on right side up and get it seated in there just right.